Right, so full disclosure, when I sprayed this guitar body, the first time I sprayed it, I sanded the body to within an inch of its life on 300 or 400 grit sandpaper. After I'd sprayed a top coat on it, like the colour coat, the grain, it was awful, so I stripped it back to wood again and re-sanded it with a higher grit. I think I've done it up at about 600 grit second time round. So what you're watching now is the first time I sprayed the guitar body. I was not happy after this first time, hence why I wanted to do it a second time. So the finished result that you'll see at the end of this video is after the second time I'd sprayed it, but I thought I'd put this up there. I didn't really want to film it all again because it's essentially the same thing. All I can say is that the wood that they use on these Squires, this is an Infinity, a Squire Infinity Strat body. They're awful. They're not that good, and the wood grain it's just not nice. I mean, I've sprayed many guitar bodies. This is the first time I sprayed an Infinity with nitrocellulose. In hindsight, I wish I'd done this with polyurethane, really. I don't think spraying nitrocellulose on this sort of low tier body works that well, to be fair. But the end result after the second time I'd sprayed it was a lot better. It was a lot smoother. The grain still shows through. It goes back to when I stripped the body of paint. The paint was actually layered on there. It must have been 0.5 millimetre to 1 millimetre thick. And I think the reason they do that is because it's such crap quality wood. It's not that good. So I'm still putting base coat on this, primer coat. I put about, all told, I must have put about 8 to 10 coats of primer on this to try and cover up the grain, because I wanted to get it smooth. The second time I sprayed it, I was sanding between each coat, lightly sanding between each coat to knock off any roughness. I don't normally do that when I spray guitars. I don't normally sand between coats because it's nitrocellulose. It just melts into the previous layer anyway. Here we go with the colour coats. I've just started putting the colour on. Very thin coats I'm starting with here, hence why it's looking quite patchy. But I'll build that up over the course of 8-9 coats. I try not to put too thick a coat on in one go. I mean, once I've built up a layer or a few layers, I then start putting wetter coats on. But you've got to go careful to ensure that you don't get any runs or sags. Yeah, so here we go with the colour coat. I don't know what coat this is, probably the third coat, I guess. It starts building up now. Now, what I didn't actually show you at the end of this was spraying the clear coats. I didn't see the point in that, really. It's just paint. But so here we go, just finishing off the top coat here, the colour coat. The clear coat are going on after this, and yeah. I'll show you the end result at the end of the video. So here is the end result. It's Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I've not flattened and polished this yet. This is after about 8 coats, 9 coats of clear, so it needs to be polished up, but it's not too bad. I've done better. I think the quality of this wood is not brilliant. You know, certainly when I done my black Strat and my certainly my candy apple red Strat, they come out so good. This is okay, it will be fine by the time I've polished it up a bit. Yeah, it's, you know, it's a Squire, you know, and I think going forward, if I ever spray another Squire body, I'll probably do it in poly. I'll probably do it in polyurethane. It's thicker and it covers up a multitude of sins. The amount of like primer on this, when it, you know, the original colour coat, there was 3 or 4 layers. It was really thick, and I think the reason for that is that it was covering up the imperfections in the wood. Unfortunately, when you use nitrocellulose like I've used here, it tends to show up the imperfections in the wood. You've really got to prepare the wood really well for nitrocellulose. You need to sand it to about 300 or 400 grit before you spray it. I sanded this to 300 or 400 grit. I think it was about 400 grit I sanded this to, and it's still not perfect. It's not perfect. I mean, I filled some dings. There's one there that's come through. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but hey ho, it's a project. I've got to get this done in the next couple of days. I've got to get it polished up, reassembled, and I shall show you the video later of me flattening and polishing this thing, wiring up the pick guard, reassembling it, and yeah, and then probably playing it as well then, and give you a little demo of it. Yeah, it's not brilliant. The wood is questionable. It's pretty poor quality wood, but it is a Squire Infinity. But yeah, so that's it, and that's enough for today, and I shall put another video up in the next few days of the flattening and polishing of this thing, and then eventually the reassembly. Okay, right, cheers, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye bye.